Right now, without your conscious permission, a microscopic chemical is silently rewriting the physical architecture of your brain. It dictates how easily you get angry. It decides how much information you will remember tomorrow morning. It can even physically shrink your brain tissue. We call it cortisol. For decades, we've dismissed stress as a vague mental inconvenience, something you just need to tough out. But neuroscientists are discovering that chronic stress isn't just an emotional state. It is a biological takeover. Today, we are looking inside the modern brain to see exactly how this single hormone hijacks your mind, scrambles your internal navigation, and breaks your ability to make decisions. More importantly, we're looking at the data that shows how you can fight back. To understand why cortisol is destroying modern brains, we first have to understand why it exists. Evolutionarily, cortisol is a lifesaver. Imagine you are an early human, and a predator jumps out of the brush. In milliseconds, your brain initiates a highly coordinated survival protocol known as the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Your hypothalamus sounds the alarm. Your pituitary gland signals the body, and your adrenal glands pump a massive wave of adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. Cortisol forces your body to prioritize immediate survival. It floods your muscles with glucose. It sharpens your focus. It temporarily shuts down non-essential systems like your immune defense, growth, and reproduction. In a primitive world, this survival spike lasted for 15 minutes. You either outran the tiger or you became dinner. Either way, the stress ended, your cortisol plummeted, and your brain reset. But your brain cannot tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an angry email from your boss at 9 p.m. When stress becomes chronic, the HPA axis stays turned on. Your brain is constantly marinated in cortisol. Recent clinical studies show that this long-term exposure triggers a devastating domino effect across 3 vital brain regions. Front number 1, the amygdala. This is your brain's threat detection center. Under normal conditions, it alerts you to danger and calms down. But under constant cortisol exposure, something frightening happens. The amygdala actually grows. It increases its neural connections and becomes physically larger. The result? You develop a hyper-reactive brain. You start perceiving neutral situations as threats. You live in a baseline state of constant, exhausting anxiety. Front number 2, the hippocampus. This is the hub for learning, memory, and emotional regulation. While cortisol expands your fear center, it does the exact opposite here. High levels of cortisol deteriorate the electrical signals in the hippocampus. It halts neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells, and physically corrodes existing tissue. This is why, when you are stressed for weeks on end, you can't remember where you put your keys, and you struggle to retain new information. Your memory engine is literally starving. Front number 3, the prefrontal cortex. This is the crown jewel of human evolution. It handles logic, impulse control, long-term planning, and decision-making. Cortisol causes the neural connections in this area to snap and wither away. It shrinks the prefrontal cortex. When this happens, your ability to think rationally drops significantly. Your primitive emotional brain takes the wheel, while your logical brain goes offline. If you think this structural damage doesn't affect your daily life, look at what happens when scientists put these cortisol-soaked brains to the test. In a recent neuroimaging study, researchers investigated how acute cortisol spikes affect our sense of direction. They discovered something remarkable. Cortisol completely scrambles the brain's internal GPS. Participants injected with cortisol made massive errors in simple spatial navigation. Why? Because the hormone directly disrupted the neural mapping system inside the hippocampus. When you are deeply stressed, you are quite literally lost. But it gets worse when you add the element of time. Separate behavioral data analyzed how humans make complex choices under stress. The study revealed that our brains are actually surprisingly resilient. They can manage complex decisions even when cortisol is high. until you add time pressure. The data showed that when a cortisol spike is paired with a tight deadline, our decision-making quality doesn't just dip, it completely collapses. The combination of the chemical and the clock paralyzes our capacity to choose wisely, forcing us into panicked, short-sighted mistakes. All of this sounds incredibly bleak. It feels like we are completely at the mercy of our modern environment. But this is where the most exciting breakthrough in neuroscience comes into play. Your brain possesses a feature called neuroplasticity. It is not a rigid block of stone. It is clay. Just as cortisol can mold your brain into a shape of fear and confusion, intentional habits can mold it back into a shape of calm and clarity. The structural damage caused by stress is not permanent. Neuroscientific studies have tracked patients who engaged in consistent daily interventions. They found that simple habits like sustained cardiovascular exercise and mindfulness meditation act as a chemical shield. Cardio exercise burns off excess cortisol and triggers the release of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which acts like fertilizer for new brain cells in your hippocampus. Meanwhile, consistent meditation has been shown in fMRI scans to physically shrink the overactive amygdala back to its normal size, turning down your baseline anxiety alarm. You cannot always control the chaotic world around you, but you can control the environment inside your head. Chronic stress wants you to believe that you are trapped, but the science proves your brain is incredibly resilient. By understanding the biological mechanics of cortisol, you can stop blaming yourself for feeling overwhelmed and start taking deliberate steps to rebuild your mind. Protect your time, move your body, give your brain a chance to reset, and take your biology back. If you found this deep dive into neuroscience helpful, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment below with how you manage your daily stress, and share this with someone who needs a reminder to breathe today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.